So my brain, the way it works is like I need to synthesize different ideas. So I need to feed my brain. And the way I do it is I'm always reading paper books or Kindle more these days. Yeah. Always listening to audiobooks, podcasts when I'm driving. Well, since I know I need to post every single day, I'm actively on the lookout. Somebody asked me a question at work, like one of my colleagues, and I, give them a rant. I was like, oh, that's actually a good topic. Or
rants are always good topic. When someone says something like, I didn't even know I cared that much. Let me write this down now.
Exactly. That's a good indication. Or, you tell somebody a story about your past. In 2017, I went to this conference and this guy said this, and then we got into a fight. And it's like, oh, that's a good story, actually. Mm-hmm. So that's one. Two is, some people are natural, original thinkers. Just get a bunch of ideas, and maybe they have the luxury of having time to think. Because if you're always working, it doesn't just come to you. So my wife is an original thinker. She always has amazing ideas. I'm like, can I tweet that? I'm not that. So my brain, the way it works is like I need to synthesize different ideas. So I need to feed my brain. And the way I do it is I'm always reading paper books or Kindle more these days. Yeah. Always listening to audiobooks, podcasts when I'm driving. These days with COVID, much less than I used to. I'm an avid lifter, lifting weights. So when I'm lifting, put on a podcast, put on an audiobook. Mm-hmm. So always feeding my brain, and then you put two and two together. Oh, that guy said something in that blog post, which happened to me last week at work, and then I read about it in this blog post, and it's like that, sparks an insight. Yes. And then, I send myself Slack messages, like my personal, I DM myself. Yeah. So I wouldn't forget. Yeah. So I have a library of thoughts, and then every time I need to post, I have a certain time. I usually post when it's like 7 a.m. U.S. Central Time, which is my experimentation shows that's the best time to post. You get the most reach. So then I go through my my library of thoughts. Yeah. And also when I'm reading a book or listening to anything, and then somebody says something that immediately is like, whoa, that's brilliant. When I notice myself reacting to an idea, that's a telltale sign that other people will also have a eureka moment. Not everybody, but people, because it's contextual, right? Mm-hmm. But then I'll write it down. I write down, and then I build a rant on top of that or anything like that. So some days I am also like, okay, I need to post. My library is empty. I have nothing. Then I usually think about top 20 or 30 lessons learned doing my work. So if I had to teach somebody else what I'm doing, like I pick a topic like recruitment, okay, interviewing people. What are some of the key things that I have learned about interviewing people? I was like, yeah, if I were to teach a junior colleague, I would have a lot of wisdom to share. And so I make that into a blog post or like forum or LinkedIn thing.
Have you found that the fact that you're having to write every day, has that had an impact on the success of your businesses? Just that process?
I think so, because it's writing stuff down forces you to clarify your thought. Because you have all these ideas in your brain, but once you need to write them down and make coherent sentences, you realize that the ideas in your brain are not organized. Yeah, at least my brain. So it really forces me to think through the concepts, and then that also I'm taking it to my business. When I'm learning about differentiation, strategy, and brand, and writing about it, I'm also a student. In fact, most of the stuff that I say is note to self. Like I'm speaking to myself.
Yeah, sure.
And so it's always relevant to what I'm going through right now. And so I clarified my thinking to solve my own problems better.
Yeah, sure. And I think, it is good to write it down. That's number one. It is different when you're writing it down for 20,000 people to look at and to potentially pull holes in and to really be at a point where you're prepared to stand by this, right? Like, because there's the other part is like, I'm going to put something out that's going to be maybe controversial because, that's good for personal brand,
Totally.
But it doesn't have to be, but I have to be good at answering it because this has to be right, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, I'm not too attached to me being right, because also when you use social media to write an idea, you have character limits, so you can't, there are always exceptions and, whatever. People will say, oh, well, what about blah, 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 so it's okay. I mean, I'm not, you can endlessly defend your positions, or you can say, well, yeah, in that case, sure, that's different.
Yeah, sure.
But
okay.
People do love strong opinions. If you say, sometimes it happens that, like you soften it, then it's not as impactful. People like fucking strong opinions. And strong opinion posts just do much better. And even if you get haters, and I really do, meaning like people disagree with me, but not in the troll way, but like intelligent disagreement. That actually helps the engagement. Like it's controversy, so you can have a back and forth argument. The more comments you have, the more LinkedIn or Twitter will increase the reach.